right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, one and all, to Pondering. Yes, this is the Pondering podcast and radio program. What do? We ponder, as the name suggests, all things, and we talk about them. We do not check our brains at the door. We think them through, and we do it from a Christian or biblical worldview, Christian perspective. We do this every weekday, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to about 8 o'clock, maybe 7:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Facebook on the Pondering Radio page of Facebook. We're also available, as many of you know, via podcast on all kinds of podcast venues, and that's on demand, 24/7, 365. But if you're listening to the podcast, you can still participate by going to the Pondering Radio page of Facebook and typing in your thoughts, your comments, your ideas, your complaints, your funny jokes and memes of cats arguing with weird-looking people. Whatever you want to do. I don't care. We're happy to have you. You can also contribute by calling in and leaving a voicemail 24/7, 365. That number, should you be so inclined, that number is 860-500-7163. 860-500-7163. And finally, last but not least, you can email us as well. That email address is ponderingradio, like one big word, ponderingradio, @gmail.com. Ponderingradio@gmail.com. And we are so glad to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. Give yourselves a round of applause. Excellent. Very well-deserved round of applause. Thank you very much. So, got to use these sound effects. I have them. I want to put them to work. Huh? So today, what I would like to do is something that may be nigh impossible, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. And that is to put into sort of a prophetic, biblical perspective the stuff that's going on in the news, including the debates last night, if you saw them. I'm sure you'll hear about them in the news today repeatedly, as well as this whole impeachment craziness, okay? And the way I'd like to do that is just by reference, because we don't have time to dig in and look at all the passages, but I'm going to refer to some things that I think most of you know. Again, most people listening to Pondering, commenting on Pondering, participating in Pondering are Christians. Now, we do come at things from a Christian perspective, unapologetically so. However, we welcome other people and other views. We ask that if you disagree, which is fine, you just please don't be disagreeable, meaning no name-calling, motive imputing, threatening, etc. But because I, and most of the audience, come from a Christian perspective, I'm going to cut to the chase by referring to some things I think most of us know from Revelation in particular about sort of the end time era. And tie that into some of what we see happening in the news every day. And I think it's really kind of like a shot across the bow, a warning shot, if you will, for us. I don't think that we are within minutes or hours of the end, so to speak, but I do think that what we're seeing, the trends we're watching, are pushing toward a final climax of history that we have seen in Scripture for thousands of years, especially the last 2,000 years when it comes to the book of Revelation. Fred says, feeling famous on the Pondering podcast. Yes, you are, my friend, clearly. And I appreciate having you here today. Thank you for joining me. So, couple things we know from Revelation about the end of the age. Number one, we know there will be a world-ruling empire, referred to in different ways, but primarily as Babylon, or Babylon the Great, of course, reminiscent of one of the greatest world empires in history. And the city of Babylon, the Bible refers to as the city, representing this great place of commerce that all nations, although the word in Greek is goyim, I believe, which is peoples, all people of the earth look to this giant nation state. And what do they look to it for in Revelation? Well, they look to it for money, They can't do business without it, without the mark of the beast, as it's referred to. You have to be connected. You have to be on the inside. And if you are under this massive world-ruling empire, at the end, you can do business. You can survive. You are dependent on her. for your sustenance in every way. She also is the source of your religious training and understanding, your spiritual help and strength, if you will. She has a woman associated with her who is, most scholars agree, representative of a world religion that all look to and all respect and all obey in that sense. And we know that this world ruling empire and world religion is opposed to Christianity because it persecutes the people of God, the Christians. They are martyred in many cases, etc., etc. And so these are just some of the things that we see as part and parcel with the end of the age. World ruling empire that's the source of everything you need, financially, etc., that you must be plugged into in order to receive what you need. And to even have the spiritual strength and power to move on. If you are not spiritually, ideologically, and philosophically plugged in and in agreement, then you're persecuted. All right, and I'm really, simplifying and, summarizing, but I think, again, most Christians, evangelical Christians in particular, would say, yep, that's it, I get it. That's clearly what Revelation tells us. All right. Well, when you look at what's happening in the news and the trends that are being pushed hard from the left, in particular the Democratic Party, but not just the party, it's people, individuals, and it's other groups too. This push toward this radical, socialist, leftist kind of agenda, we have to understand that's a shot across the bow with regard to the end of the age. Why? Well, if you listen to the debates last night, let me just summarize some things that you no doubt heard. One, you heard socialism promoted as the solution to our problems economically, etc. And that these candidates will give you and me and everybody free everything, free college, right? Free health care. They'll make sure we have housing. They're going to take care of us. And all we need to do in return is give over to them whatever they ask for financially, etc., especially the rich, though. They project themselves as the Robin Hood solution to our problems. They will go after the Donald Trumps and even a bigger fish than him, the wealthy, the 1%, and they'll take their money, 70, 80% of it, and they'll give it away to all of us so we can have free health care, free college, free everything, free cell phones, free everything. And as such, as we've seen throughout history, socialism provides those in power, governmental leaders, with awesome cosmic power. They have pretty much all authority. And they are the source of everything people need, so that people will continue to put them in power or keep them in power because they can't afford to not have them in power because they're dependent upon them. That's all part and parcel of the package. That's kind of how it works. So they're saying, hey, give us your money or we'll take it, in the case of the rich, and we'll give it to those in need. Oh, I've been joined by my granddaughter, Brittany B. She's right here. Why, look at this. Brittany wants to make her debut. Say hi, baby. Oh, now she's hiding. She's hiding from Grandma and me and everybody else behind the door. And there's Mrs. Pondering. Good morning. Morning. My stuff on my desk is falling apart here. Sorry. Anyway, have fun, baby. Have fun at school. Love you. Say bye to everybody. Bye. We have to go to school. Gotta brush that hair. Wow. All right. So sorry, guys, but let's see. Where was I here? So they're saying, give us your money or we'll take it from the rich, and then we'll give you everything you need. We'll take care of you, and everybody, it'll be fair, quote unquote. Everybody will get the same, and we'll all be, we'll all be in great shape and happy together. That is necessary for this end time prophecy or these prophecies to be fulfilled, because the next step, and something else you'll hear and see from them, perhaps not in these terms, but as you do the math and look at it logically, as you ponder it, you'll see I'm right. The next step beyond socialism, nationally, is globalism. And they promote this idea of globalism in several ways. One, they hate this whole slogan, make America great again. We don't want to make America great. We want to make the world a great place for everybody. Kumbaya, let's all join together. And so they promote open borders. because there really is no national separation. We're all supposed to be part of one world government, one system, one people. Um, they promote the idea that we would not have any sort of military superiority. They promote giving up guns, getting rid of the Second Amendment, because the only way to have a massive governmental authority over all people is if the people can't fight back. And so historically, whenever socialism is put in place, then weapons are removed from the populace, and that also opens the door for globalism, because again, you can't have a massive world ruling empire if nations can fight back, which is why the United States needs to be diminished economically and militarily so that it can be absorbed within this ultimate international power that will eventually arise on the scene. They promote globalism in terms of drilling rights, in terms of our policy, our foreign policy, of who we interfere with and who we don't, who we allow to have any kind of oil reserves and independence, how we do business economically. They would be opposed to President Trump's hard line with regard to China and Russia and others, and be more willing to give away the store, so to speak, because we need to become part of one big system. You'll hear these things, and in the midst of the sort of stream of consciousness from the various candidates, the idea behind a global economy is and they don't know this, they don't understand this, I'm sure, is to ultimately open the door for a global government. That certainly prophecy speaks to. And that global government will be socialist, because there needs to be a dependency on that government. People need to be dependent on it for money, for truth, for education, etc. And I could go on, but these are things that you have to kind of think through, ponder, and understand that this is all kind of a warning shot with regard to the end of the age. You can't have the ultimate fulfillment of Revelation without socialism, globalism, and ecumenism, which is the other piece of things they promote. They don't want Christianity to have any part in things. In fact, they'd like to just keep it completely off the radar, because Christianity believes it's the only way, that Jesus is the way to heaven. We can't have that, because it doesn't open the door for one world religious system, the woman riding the beast, so to speak. And that's ultimately got to happen. So there's this shove, this push, this nudge, this constant leaning in that direction. I think we've been given a reprieve. I think we probably will see that again in the next election. I don't think any of these people are going to be elected, barring some unforeseen tragedy or travesty. But this is a warning. This is a trend. These are things we need to be able to watch and be careful about. The other thing I would tie in is the whole impeachment scenario. And I guess the way I'd put this is that we know that this final government and the leader of that government, call him the Antichrist, the man of sin, whatever terms you want to use from Scripture or in Christian culture, he is someone that is able to deceive. And we're told that ultimately the dragon gives the power to this end government, this international world power. And the dragon is, Satan, the devil, the dragon, is the source of miracles, the source of strength, all that. And we're also told that in Revelation 12 that the devil, the dragon, deceives the whole world. He's able to take up and make it look like it's down, and left make it look like it's right, and all that stuff. He's a deceiver, a mind twister. That's who he is. Well, as I consider the liberal progressive party and those who are part of it, formally and otherwise, I'm amazed at the ability, the capacity to deceive. And I know this is going to offend some people. I am not a political commentator. I'm a Christian commentator. I'm an independent politically. But I can look at things and call them what they are. And if I look at the Democratic Party, which is the source, sadly, of most of this progressive, liberal, globalist, socialist agenda right now, I have to say that their PR agents are amazing. They have the best PR of any organization on the planet. Because, and I'll give you two examples, they are able to make up, down, left, right. I mean, it can take something that's happened, something they've done, and turn it around and have people believe the exact opposite. And not just a few people, but millions of people, entire classes and races and groups of people believing the opposite. Two examples. One is slavery, and the other one would be this whole impeachment thing with Donald Trump. The Democratic Party is known as the party of the minorities. Everyone understands, the media believes it and promotes it. Everybody says they're the ones who care about the African American population, Hispanic population. They're the ones who are really all about caring for those in need, the underdog, those who are minority groups. They have compassion. They're the ones that love them. They're the ones that really know what's best. And that's amazing when you look at the facts of history. It was the Democratic Party who voted against the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves. It was the Democratic Party, in large part, from the South in particular, that fought against, having equality and fairness and equal rights. They're the ones that wanted to have, the Jim Crow laws and separatist laws with regard to different bathrooms for blacks and whites, etc. And this is not just ancient history. I mean, up until just a few years ago, a Grand Master Marshal, whatever they're called, in the KKK, was one of the leading senators in Congress. His name was Senator Byrd, and Senator Byrd, Hillary referred to him as her mentor, and she was just in the last election, right? Almost became president. So this is not just ancient history. This is relatively recent, that the party of people who were the primary oppressors of minorities such as African Americans have been able to spin and twist and be perceived as the party who cares for the minorities and people in need more than anyone else, while keeping them dependent on government subsidies and housing and food stamps and everything else, and promoting more of that and telling them that you can't get ahead. There's no chance. It's not fair. So just look to us, vote for us, give us your money, and we'll take care of you. That is slavery, my friends. And they have continued that for the last 200 years, at least the last 100 years. And yet everybody thinks, no, they care, they love, they're the ones who really are, oh my gosh, they're the compassionate, and that is a deception. That's a twist. That is I would argue, a supernatural capacity to make the truth appear like a lie, and a lie appear like the truth. And I'll quickly just summarize, because we've already talked about it, with one other example, which is this impeachment trial that's may happen in the Senate and has already taken place in the House of Representatives. Joe Biden, Vice President Biden, and with the support of President Obama, somehow got his son, who had no experience, no background, no training, no qualifications, a job in the Ukraine, working for a company, making $86,000 a month, and he doesn't even have to show up. Okay. Then there's some corruption with that company, you think, and so the Ukrainian Attorney General starts to look into it. And Vice President Biden says, if you want $300 billion in support that we promised you, you need to fire this guy. And we know this because he bragged on it. So he bragged about it. It's on video. I mean, we've seen it. I've seen and heard the audio of this. So we know he did it. The Ukrainian president needed the money, so he fired the prosecutor. And instead of giving him military support, which was, I think, what he expected and what he needed when Russia invaded and took over Crimea, we gave him some blankets for the refugees. But, we held we basically blackmailed, quid pro quo, whatever you want to call it, him to fire this guy based on what seems to be only personal reasons, Joe Biden taking care of his son. And nobody looked into it. There's nothing to see here, no big deal, just kind of got swept under the rug. Ironically, by asking, among many other things, for the Ukrainian new president to look into that, as well as to look into the organization that ended up with the DNC's computer, which contains information about the last election, and which Donald Trump believes shows that it was not Russia who interfered, and therefore, it wasn't anything to do with his relationship or lack thereof, with Vladimir Putin. and asking them to look into corruption in general, and not even mentioning any support or withholding of support from the Ukraine, which, by the way, in retrospect, we know we did give them the support, and there was no investigation launched, at least not publicly that we know of. But despite that, this party, the Democratic Party, controlling the House of Representatives, has twisted this completely around to say Donald Trump is the one who did quid pro quo for personal reasons, to maintain his own power against somebody that might run against him in the election. And therefore, he needs to be impeached for abuse of power and for contempt of Congress for not giving us all his paperwork and everything else that we asked for, and having everybody testify so we could find someone who would say something we could use against him. And so the very thing they did, President Obama, Vice President Biden, whoever else may have been involved, by withholding support from a country that we had promised it to until they would fire somebody who was looking into a company that the vice president's son was working for, well, getting paid by at least. That very thing is what they've accused Donald Trump of and impeached him, even though they don't have any facts or evidence to back it up. That's amazing. You talk about deception, the ability to twist the truth, the ability to make a lie seem true and the truth seem like a lie. When it comes to slavery and care for minorities, when it comes to their treatment of our current president, that group, the progressive liberal group of people in this nation, which is becoming a higher and higher percentage of the population, sadly, especially of the younger generation now, they take the cake, baby. They've got the best PR agents in the world. These things we should be watching out for. We should be praying about. God is, I think, holding it back right now. I don't think we're going to see an immediate takeover of these folks, of our government and of our economy. But I believe it ultimately will happen because it has to in order for the United States to be knocked down to where it can become part of this global system, government, and economy that everyone will be dependent upon at the end of the age. I think we need to be praying, we need to be watching, and we need to be busy doing the work of the kingdom, because the days for us to do that, the opportunity for us to continue to have the freedom to preach openly, share openly, invite people openly to church and to receive Christ, those days are probably numbered. I don't know how many there are. I don't know how numbered they are. I'm not here to predict any timing, but the trend is definitely there. The push is on. And sadly, with our media, with our entertainment industry, with our at least half of our government, they're already sold. It's an already done deal. They are already on board with all the things necessary to bring about the final conclusion that John prophesied 2,000 years ago. So keep praying, keep thinking about it. Hey, have a blessed Merry Christmas. Hey, Janet, welcome to you. I'd like to see you on here. Many of you have heard stories about Janet. Janet was the lead singer in the band I played in high school. Amazing voice, and now she sings in a praise team in church, and she's a wonderful Christian woman. So, hey, good to hear from you, my dear, my friend. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Susie, Deanne, anyone else I missed that might have logged on here. Guys, we will be back Monday morning at 7:30. In the meantime, tell your friends, neighbors, and complete strangers about pondering, because we want to see more people ponder the truth. Not check our brains at the door, not swallow what we hear in the media whole, but to think about it and then apply it. So we appreciate you. And in the meantime, until we see you Monday, stay in the Word, keep praying, keep on pondering, and have a blessed weekend. Bye for now.